I have a confession to make. I'm madly in love. I'm in love with a young, pretty, dynamic, competitive, meticulous, smart person who aced every difficult exam she ever taken. And then one day, she was given an exam that she didn't ace. In fact, she did quite badly. And she was sad. And of course, I was sad with her too. But you see, this young lady that I am in love with is always looking to be better, to be number one, always looking to be tops in everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, just before the exam, the newspapers wrote about her, and it says, big plans to put National Skin Center on global map. Singapore team tops in predicting flight timing. Yeah, I'm talking about Singapore. I'm in love with Singapore. She's 47 years old. I'm 66, so she's young. You see, for several years, we did this little test, if you like. It's a test by way of measuring how we behave as a people. And 4 years before this year, Singapore did okay. We were in our 60, like 61. But this year, she failed because she fell all the way down to 53. You know, if you understand Singapore, you understand how bad it is. You should be getting up every year. You shouldn't be getting down, right? I call this the great dip downward. Remember, there was a great leap forward. Now we have the great dip downward. And that's not so good because, you know, we were simply asking people, a random set of people, a very simple question. We asked them, what's your experience of graciousness? Did you receive kindness? Did you act kindly? Did you witness people doing kind things? And a good number of people said, no, we did not. We did not do kind things ourselves too. Of course, if you don't do kind things yourself, how do you expect to receive kind things back, right? But that's interesting though, because in spite of this downward dive, we noticed in the research that we did that the same people also said that courtesy has gone up. We're actually more courteous. And consideration has also gone up. We're actually more considerate. And reciprocity, in other words, if you're good to me, I'm going to be good to you back. That's also gone up. And that's pretty good, especially in the public transport system. People are saying more people are giving up seats. More people are actually moving to the center of the buses. More people are smiling and saying, you know, being nice. Then what's happened? Not only that, we asked them whether you consider Singaporeans kind as a people. And they say, yes, we are kind people. In fact, we want to be kinder because that's really our ambition. Well, that's very interesting. And they also said volunteerism has also gone up. Donations to charity has also gone up. In other words, we are kind and we desire to be kinder, but we are not acting kindly. So now we are back to that. We are kind, but somehow we are not acting kindly. Well, naturally, we want to know why. Why is that so? See, the measurement itself, and by the way, graciousness index is not found anywhere else. Singapore is the only country in the world that has a graciousness index. We should be very proud of that, of course. And so we are not really measuring, or we're not really asking the why question. We're asking the what question. We're asking the how question. We're not asking the why question. So we don't have the answer from the survey as such. However, we did float a couple of ideas. For example, we floated this phrase, Singapore, not a place where one can be kind. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, you disagree, 10 being you completely agree. What is it? Right in the middle. We also float another idea. We said, okay, what about this? Not possible to improve kindness. Again, we floated that, and it's right in the middle. What does it say? It says that we are a little indifferent. There's a little ambivalence. And so we wanted to know, why are we ambivalent? We're either enthusiastic, we are kind, or we're not kind. Why in the middle? I tell you why we're in the middle. Because the last period of time when this survey was done, Singapore, as a people, we've gone through some real serious challenges. We got all kinds of angst and all kinds of anxieties. Congestion, high cost of living, can't afford a car, can't afford a house, and of course, so many foreigners in Singapore. And we've forgotten that we're once upon a time foreigners here too. I mean, I'm a foreigner because my parents came from China. So we started to feel like, we are not so kind. Notice the first question had to do with experience. And I really believe that when we feel badly about ourselves, we will be insensitive to kindness that's going around. When we have sentiments that are negative, then we are going to feel negative, and therefore we see everything in negative light. In fact, we tried that out. And we found that the netizens came out with the same idea. They said, we are full of stress and we are full of problems, and how can we be gracious and kind? And it's the foreigners again. And it's the government. Government made us unkind. It's easy to blame everybody. It's easy to blame everybody. But I think it's time to stop blaming. It's time to begin to think. When the Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, gave this National Day rally speech, he said something about home, heart, and hope, or hope, home, and heart, whatever way you put it. And he said something to the effect that, we should be a caring and generous, a decent people. He said graciousness towards one another and towards all is the best way to ensure that tomorrow Singapore will have a bigger heart. Sorry, Mr. Prime Minister. Tomorrow is here, and our heart is still very small. You know what? The blame game is not going to take us anywhere. It is time that we wake up and ask ourselves, what are we doing about it? We say we want to be kind and have a kind society, but we are not acting kindly. Who is stopping you from doing that? I ask my fellow Singaporeans. Who is stopping me? Are we going to write our own story, or are we going to let others write the story for us? I met Mrs. Elizabeth Choi many years ago. She was tortured by the Japanese during the Japanese occupation. And she's a remarkable, remarkable woman. After the war, there was a tribunal, and they asked her whether these torturers should be executed. She said no. She said, had it not been for the war, my torturers would have been just like me, at home with my families and doing ordinary things. Forgiving compassion, spontaneous kindness, inspiring. What's happened? She's written her own story in spite of the circumstances. We should not let, I say to my fellow Singaporeans, circumstances, high costs of living, foreigners, or whatever, government, determine how we behave. We still have control over our own behavior. We can still write our own story. If we don't write our own story and we let circumstances write our own story, that story will take us to a very cold place. A place where we've forgotten what kindness is. A place where we've forgotten what graciousness is. We will forget the place where what friendship is, what inclusiveness is, what the kampong spirit is. We can write our own story and make a difference. We can write to improve kindness. We can write to improve consideration by being kind and considerate. We can write to improve graciousness by being gracious. We can write to be inclusive by being inclusive. It's up to us. We are innately kind. Remember, that's what we say. And therefore, we have the possibility and the potential to write our own story to transcend circumstances. I think it was Dan Jarrah who said, live your life so that your children can tell their children that not only you stood for something, you actually acted on it. Not only did you stand for kindness and graciousness, you act on it. That's what our children need to tell our children's children. I choose to write my own story. I choose to be kind and gracious in spite of all these circumstances. I refuse to let the circumstance write my story. Kindness breeds kindness. Graciousness multiplies graciousness. I choose to follow Mother Teresa's saintly advice to be the expression of kindness in my face, kindness in my eyes, and kindness in my smile. It is not a new idea. I just choose to write a new story. And you can join me to write this story. Because kindness begins with me, kindness begins with you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.